Okay. Okay. I think we are live. We are live. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know if there's an echo. Hopefully there's no echo. Say no if there's no echo. What's up, guys? What's going on? No echo here. No echo. No. Perfect! The only reason why I ask, some of you guys might know, is last week when I was doing the Thorazine, the very first episode of Thorazine, the Halloween only live AMA, we had to reschedule it. We had to actually push it by about 24 hours because I had massive technical difficulties. So this is really good. I have a new computer that's come in as well, so we should be rocking. Everything should be okay here. And yeah, so this is great. Now, we got 95 people watching. This is fantastic. Let me just move over here to the other screen that I like to look at when I'm doing these live broadcasts. There we go. It'll probably even brighten me up a little bit. It's a little bit, I think it's a little delayed, actually. Oh, no. There we go. It's moving up. It's moving on up. Moving on up. Okay, now what I'm going to do... you aren't wearing your Halloween shirt. No, well, this isn't a Halloween AMA. This is a everything AMA. So I decided to wear my He-Man Skeletor. Anyway, yeah, so before I answer any of your questions, sit tight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer some questions through my Patreon. Those who subscribe to level number 3, part of the subscription is that you get first dibs on live AMA questions. So I'm just going to quickly go through those, and then I'm going to open it up to everybody. So bear with me here. So let's move on over to my Patreon, and the first comes from Timmy G, who says, Dave, what was the one thing that got you hooked on on Halloween when you first saw the original film? Well, Timmy, I would have to say it was my older brother Neil. Now, Neil is about 9 years older than me. Not about, he is. And he loves Michael Myers, and he loves the original Halloween. And he said that Halloween was the first horror movie that he ever watched that never gave him nightmares. So he introduced that to me when I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5. You know, us kids back in the 80s were watching horror movies left, right, and center, right? And that's sort of what got me hooked. Was my brother Neil got me hooked onto this, you know, this Halloween film back in the early 80s. So we have, let's see, let's scroll on here. We have Guillermo, I think I'm saying that right. Guillermo Medina. He says, hey Dave, I have a theory that maybe Nick Castle might also play the role of the mechanic, and maybe that might be the passing of the torch when Michael kills him for the coveralls. Your thoughts? Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think Nick Castle is playing the mechanic who's lying on the ground. We have no evidence of that. That only sort of came to fruition, or sort of came to light, when people were like, when they found out that Nick Castle is indeed in one scene only, according to James Jude Courtney, and he doesn't walk. So people saw this guy, this out of shape kind of, you know, older, you know, looking guy lying on the ground. Oh, maybe that's Nick Castle. But that's the only circumstantial evidence we have that that could be Nick Castle. Nobody has said it. Nobody has alluded to it. Not, you know, anybody from the production, not Nick Castle, not James Jude Courtney. So to be fair, that's just coming from the information that he's not in the movie, or sorry, he's only in one scene in the movie and he doesn't walk. So people see this older guy not walking, lying down. Oh, that must be Nick Castle. It could be. I don't think so, though. I don't think so. Okay, let's quickly move through these here. Josh Lee says, hey, Dave, on your favorite sci-fi movies video, you had Ex Machina on your list. Have you seen Alex Garland's recent sci-fi film? And if so, what were your thoughts? It's currently my second favorite film of the year so far. Was that the one with Natalie Portman? Was that one that came out earlier this year? What the hell was that one called again? If it was that one, no, I haven't seen that yet. I have not seen that yet. And if it wasn't that one, I don't think I've seen the one you're talking about yet. Reese Wilson says, Hey, Dave, what is the Michael Myers mask you used in your excellent short film, The Night He Came Back? It's a great looking mask. Yes, that mask back there. Let me see if I'm pointing in the right direction. That mask back there. Oh, wait. There we go. Right over there. Yes, that mask right there is an AHG, which stands for All Hallows Ghost, MMK. If you're familiar with the Michael Myers forums and boards and michaelmyers.net, that's where I got the mask. There are amazing independent artists who get a hold of the actual Kirk molds and create their own version of the hero mask from Halloween 1978, and they look amazing, like better than anything you could ever possibly buy in a store, because they're not built for mass, the masses, right? Each mask is handled individually, and the attention to detail is just unbelievable. So that's where it comes from. Okay, Daniel Seeley says, hey Dave, I'll be performing my first commercial on June 23rd, so I might miss the live AMA. Oh yeah, okay, he's talking about the Thorazine. What would you say is the creepiest element of Michael Myers? I would say the absence of character and the absence of motive. There's no rhyme or reason for doing what he's doing. Chris Manley says, hey Dave, I was wondering what's your favorite of the Scream movies? The very first one. The first one is my favorite. Darren Sand says, what are your thoughts on the recent news that Lonnie Lamb may be getting his oh yes, Lonnie, yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, according to David Gordon Green, Lonnie, the little kid, Lonnie, get your ass away from there, the kid that basically picks on Tommy, the troublemaker, the bully, he might be getting what he deserves in this new Halloween film. I think it's fun. I know there are a lot of people that would love to see more throwbacks, like maybe, we find out what happened to Tommy, what happened to Lindsay, what happened to Ben Tramer, and maybe we still will, but it's been all but confirmed, more or less. David Gordon Green did it in a very sort of inconspicuous way that, yeah, we're going to find out what happened to Lonnie, and he's going to get what's coming to him. So that's going to be fun. I think it's great. I think that's a lot of fun. Okay, Kevin Moore says, do you have any info scoring on the scoring for the new Halloween? No, I don't. We know that John Carpenter is doing it, Kevin, but I don't have any thoughts on that in terms of any new information. Was there anything new in the trailer that John Carpenter had been working on? I didn't get that impression that there was anything new. A lot of it sounded very sort of stock trailer music for this genre mixed in with music that we already know and love. So we're probably going to get that new music in the new film when it comes out. Daniel Newbegin says, "Hey Dave, do you think Laurie being crazy is justified after the events of just the original Halloween? I think it would be more believable if the new film followed Halloween 2. Still super excited to watch though." Yeah, I agree with that. I do think that if they had figured out a way to do a sequel to Halloween 2, it would justify Laurie's craziness even more, because you have all that shit that happened in Halloween 2 to add to her PTSD. The only reason why they did not do a sequel to Halloween 2, by and large, at the end of the day, is more than likely because they just couldn't figure out a reasonable explanation to justify Michael surviving this fire in a very grounded reality. So, but I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I could totally see that argument. Will Meyer says, "Hey Dave, do you think John Carpenter will come back and serve as executive producer if David Gordon Green and Danny McBride make a sequel and continue the story? Or do you think he will step away from the franchise like Jamie Lee Curtis wants to do?" I think John Carpenter will... I think he's gone. I don't think he has any interest on having any sort of hands-on role in the subsequent sequels that may happen after this movie. I think he's gone, and he'll just happily, sit back and collect a paycheck. Rory Moore says, "Hey Dave, why do you think Laurie never left Haddonfield after 40 years? She hoped Michael would one day escape. I mean, she has a kid and grandkids. Why would she even risk putting them in danger?" I just think the PTSD got to her, and she sort of fell into this, very dark place emotionally and psychologically, and the character just never left. She became the crazy woman that everybody sort of which was one of my predictions, by the way. David Ferguson says, "Hey Dave, do you think for a 50th anniversary Halloween would work as a possible reboot Netflix TV series, 10 episodes, or or so, going deep into the run-up of the fateful night. Sorry, let me try that again. Hey Dave, do you think for a 50th anniversary, Halloween would work as a possible rebooted Netflix TV series, 10 episodes or so, going deep into the run-up to the fatal night and the night itself? If successful, season 2 could follow the original Halloween 2 storyline. Yeah, I don't think they're going to bring the Michael Myers story to Netflix. If they bring anything to Netflix in terms of the Halloween universe, I think you're looking at anthologies. So it's in the Halloween universe, fucked up, weird, crazy stories that they could tell in the universe in another town, maybe like 100 miles down the road. And maybe you hear about Haddonfield and you see like a newspaper, article about Michael Myers, but it's something else. I could see that, but bringing the Michael Myers universe to Netflix, I don't know about that. James Carr says, Jamie Lee stated in an interview that her daughter was taken away from her and she is known as the crazy lady in town. Is it possible that her daughter and granddaughter think that she is crazy too? Oh yeah, 100%. Yes. I mean, they don't think she's crazy in the sense that she made up what happened to her in 1978, but they definitely believe that she is, it's like, Mom, it's been 40 fucking years. Get over it, kind of thing. It's made their lives very difficult, which is another one of my predictions, by the way. Brett Young says, hey Dave, do you think an older Robert Englund as himself, not Freddy, would be able to pull off a good Dr. Loomis? Please leave some insight on the way if it's possible. I don't know. I don't really see Robert Englund as a Dr. Loomis character. He looks like he could be Dr. Loomis, but there's something about Robert Englund that doesn't feel Loomisy to me. Looks, yes, hands down. Performance, I don't know. There's something not there for me. And the last of the Patreon says, this is John Messiter, says, if this new Halloween continued after Halloween 2, as we reported at an early point in development, how would you have saved Michael after the burning, and what year would you have what year would you have had the film take place in? I don't think they're really... Look, there's only one of several ways that you could go. You either say that his body was not found, which pretty much what they said in H2O, but you use that excuse again, but you make a better movie. And if you can use that excuse again and play on the mystique of that, which they did not do in Halloween H2O, because it was a throwaway line. It was just like, well, we need to throw in something so people know why... where we sort of are in the Halloween timeline. So there's that one throwaway line at the beginning of H2O. I think is it the black cop? I think it's him. He's like, they never did find his body. And it's just like, oh, there you go. That's it. And they never explore how that's possible. What happened? Michael is not burned at all. His eyes are not shot out at all. It's just, they never found his body. So, I mean, I think you could use that excuse again, but then dive deeper into the lore of the lore of why, of how that's possible. I think that would be interesting and fascinating. Or you just go with that they believe that you play the Halloween 4 route where he is badly burned and he's in a coma, but again, you make a better movie. Not that 4 was garbage, okay? I think it's a way better film than Halloween H2O, but here's your opportunity to make a better movie than 4, but you can use that sort of excuse. So there's really only a couple ways you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, thanks for your patience, guys. Had to answer those questions from my Patreon. Let's move into the chat room now. We got 212 people watching. I think you guys are fucking awesome. Start asking your questions now. If you asked them earlier while I was going over the questions of my Patreon, ask them again and we will get to it. I love this. I love seeing you guys interacting with each other in the chat, going back and forth. I think it's great. Totally awesome shit. Okay, Joey Boy Nation says, what's your favorite food? My favorite food. I don't know if I have a favorite food, but I definitely got to say I like a good pizza. I like a good pizza. Thick crust, but, I've actually acquired a taste for thin crust. Thin crust was like, thin crust, I could eat like 150 slices of those things, right? But I've developed a taste for thin crust pizza. A really good thin crust pizza is really good. But I gotta say, a good pizza with some like dipping sauce and it's really awful for you, but man, it's good. Detroit Skills, Pizza Hut. Yeah, I don't mind Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's not bad. Yeah, I don't mind it. Get thick or get the fuck out. Hey, a good thin crust pizza is not bad. All right. And again, like I say in all of my AMAs, if I do not answer your question, it's nothing personal, okay? It's just, again, we have over 220 people in the chat room. The chat is going by fast. I will do my best to get to your question, but it's not personal if I don't get to it. You'll get to ask it again in another AMA. Okay, let's see here. Presley Krause, am I saying that right? Dave, are you ready to see Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom? Yeah. No. I mean, I like the first one, obviously. Who doesn't? Didn't really like The Lost World. Didn't mind Jurassic Park 3, although it's far inferior to the third one. The first one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think it's getting crazier and crazier and crazier, and it's the Jurassic World movies are sort of losing the subtle nuance of what made them special. And now it's just some big blockbuster bonanza popcorn special effect fest, which the first Jurassic Park was not. It was a slow build. It was a slow burn. So, I'll see it because it'll, kill a couple hours, but I'm not overly excited for it. Sean Stout says, what are your thoughts on a Spawn reboot? Yeah, they're doing that. It's Blumhouse that's doing it, right? I think. And Jamie Foxx is taking on the title role. I saw the first Spawn back in the theater in the late 90s. I remember actually liking it. But then again, as you guys know, I'm not a big, comic book superhero guy. That doesn't mean that I can't talk about the universes. But I'm not up on the ins and outs of what's going on. But I remember walking away from the first Spawn, which was, what was that, 97 or something? And I didn't mind it. It was weird, but I didn't mind it. But yeah, I'll go see the reboot. Sure, why not? Okay. Michael Myers fan 1001 says, "Hey Dave, not sure if you've been asked, but how do you feel about the Trick or Treat Studios Halloween 2018 mask?" Well, let me say this. And this is no offense to Trick or Treat Studios, okay? If Trick or Treat Studios is watching, this is not personal. I don't know anybody who works for them. They don't know me, as far as I know. But you guys know me. I'm going to be honest. I'm not crazy on the masks that they produce. And it's by and large because they are producing them in mass volume. They have to. That's what they do. And I don't think the Trick or Treat Studios Halloween 2 mask looks anything like a Halloween 2 mask. I don't think it looks anything like a Halloween 2 mask at all. I don't think the Elrod mask, which I believe is them as well, right? If that's supposed to be the way the mask looks during the Elrod scene in Halloween 2, it doesn't look anything like that. I don't see how anybody can look at that mask and go, oh, if you just showed me that, I'd be like, yeah, Elrod, man. You want some mayonnaise on your sandwich? I mean, no, it doesn't at all. So, and it's not that they're shitty masks. They're not shitty masks. I just look at them and maybe I'm spoiled because of the masks that I've had over the years and the masks that I have back there in the cabinet, but I'm not crazy on it. So when I found out that Trick or Treat Studios had obtained the rights to do this new mask, which makes sense from a business partnership perspective, I get it. I was like, I didn't pre-order anything because I was like, well, let's wait and see what it looks like. The photos, if every single mask they produce, remember, they're having to produce them at a mass volume. If every single mask they produce looks like the images that they have posted online, yeah, they fucking knocked it out of the park. That's probably going to be the best mass-produced Halloween Michael Myers mask you could ever possibly get, if it looks like the images they have presented. But if the first, run of 200 or 300 look like that, but then of course to keep up with demand, they start making shortcuts, I don't know. I mean, those masks, like the one back there in my cabinet, they cost quite a few $100 for a reason. So anyway, great question though. Okay, Brandon Shoemake says, quick question, Dave. If Blumhouse and his brand new Halloween movie take the correct route with this new flick, do you think having one or two more films after the 2018 release could work? Maybe. Yeah, folks, I did hear about a lot of people have been asking me why I haven't talked about the The fact that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride had said that they wanted to, the original idea was we were going to do a sequel. We wanted to shoot 2 movies back to back. We have an idea for a sequel. And some people were like, they have a script. No, they don't have a script. They have an idea of the story for which the direction it could go. And they thought about, doing it back to back, but they didn't. And that's the right move to make, because we have no idea if this movie is going to be successful. Yes, it's going to do well opening weekend, and it's probably going to be a box office success, because I believe the official budget came out and was something like $10 or $11 million. Yeah, it's gonna make back that and then some. But will it be a critical success? We don't know. Will it be a fan critical success? We don't know. I'm in the camp of I don't want Michael Myers to live on and on and on. Not because I'm not a fan, but because I am a fan. And I have standards. And I don't want Michael Myers to become the shit show that he became with the other sequels. And like you've heard me say ad nauseum, if you make an abundance of sequels after this movie, eventually you're going to get shitty fucking sequels. Because the novelty's going to wear off, you're going to run out of ideas. Now, Laurie's dead, the granddaughter's dead, the daughter's, what's Michael doing now? And you want to know what's going to happen? He's going to end up on a ship in Manhattan, or he's going to end up in space. I mean, we don't want that. It's too special to us. So do I think that look, I don't want there to be another film after this one. I think it would be great if it was one and done. You guys know that about me. But at the end of the day, yes, I understand that if they do another one, could they do it? Sure. But they're going to have to do it within, even if they want to do a couple of more, they need to do it all within a few years of each other. Because nobody wants to see, a 85-year-old Michael Myers running around. So could they get away with it? Yeah, they could. But, I'm just worried. Okay? I'm worried. I want good Halloween movies. Really good Halloween movies. And if this one coming out in October is really good, but then they do another one and it's like, it's okay. It's okay. And then they do a third one. It's like, oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. And then they do a fourth one. It's like, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now we're doing the very thing we're trying to avoid by doing this new movie. Anyway, so yeah, could it work? Yeah, but man, Michael Myers has a shelf life because of the intent of his character. Freddy and Jason don't. They're literally supernatural. They can live on, into the ether, into movie after movie after movie. Michael's not like that. The original intent of the character, which is what they're going back to, he's not like that, right? He's human with supernatural elements, okay? He does have a shelf life, and I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting and dunning it and being like, yeah, that was great. Nobody wants to go and see Led Zeppelin or AC/DC, rocking on stage, belting out tunes because they don't, when they're 80, because they're not going to sound like they did. And you're like, get out when it's good, man. It's like, sitcoms that go on like 3 or 4 seasons past their due date. It's like, nah, get out when you're hot. Leave us wanting more. That's how you do it. Anyway. Woo! Okay, Kale734TV says, Dave, I appreciate your videos. You always keep it real. Thanks, Kale. I appreciate that. Okay, Universe 7 Gaming says, Dave, if you were to make a trilogy following the events of Halloween 1978, how would you make it? If I was making a trilogy, oh, that's long-winded. If I was to make a trilogy following the events of 1978, well, I would probably, I would do what they're doing, and because I think that's the only real way that you could go about it, although I haven't seen the movie yet. And then if I was to do 2 more movies, I would, to avoid Michael going into his 70s or 80s, I would have the movies, maybe it's 3 films, but they're all within like a space of a year of each other, or maybe the first 2 happen in the same night. We do another Halloween 2, 1981, where it happens in the same night, but it's the sequel to this movie. So it's almost like part 3, if you know what I'm saying, and leave that as sort of the trilogy. So many ways you could go about it. I could go into depth, but we got to keep moving here. All right, what do we got? Andrew James says, oh, Mr. Andrew James. Oh, scroll. Oh, Andrew. Andrew James. Hi, Dave. How would you begin Halloween 2018? How would I begin Halloween 2018? I would begin it the same way the original began it, with a jack-o'-lantern and the credits. That's how I would do it. But I would change it up a bit, though, right? It's got to, you got to bring it into the 21st century. Did you say, oh yeah, I always get your name. Is it Waynel Womar? Am I saying that right? Anyway, did you see, I'm probably, did you see the Nun teaser trailer? Yeah, I saw the Nun teaser trailer. Whatever. I mean, the Nun looks great. The Nun is a great looking character, but I'm not a huge, guys, look, I'm very picky, okay? Because we're inundated with bullshit. Something that John Carpenter said, and he's absolutely right, and you can take this to the bank. Remember this quote, okay? I'm paraphrasing, but he's 100% right. When it comes to horror movies, okay? Most horror movies suck shit. Most horror movies are fucking garbage, okay? He's absolutely right. I agree with him 100% on that. And then you have some horror movies that are not bad. Some are not bad. Yeah, it's all right. It's good. It's all right. And even fewer than that are really good. I mean, really fucking good. Bona fide classics, okay? Or not even classics, just really good horror movies. Because most horror movies are garbage. So when I see the Nun teaser, there's nothing in that teaser that makes me think this is going to be a good movie. There's nothing in the teaser that's proprietary. There's nothing in the teaser that we haven't seen a fucking 1,000 times before. There's nothing in the teaser that makes me want to rush out and see the movie. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad movie. I'm just saying that there's nothing in this teaser trailer that makes me think, oh, I gotta go see that. Nothing. So I watched it and I was like, yeah, okay. Next. It just, we're so, horror is that, and the reason for that is, and you've heard me say this, the best horror movies are the ones that get in here, not the ones that outright show you what the horror is. Because each and every one of us experiences fear in a similar way in terms of our emotional reaction. But all of us go to a different dark place psychologically. So, and you heard me say this on my last AMA, if, all 256 of us were in a theater together and there was a slow burn sort of, Jaws sort of build kind of horror movie, we're all going to be scared the same way. I might go to a different dark place because my dark place is different than yours, but you're going to go to a dark place and I'm going to go to a dark place and we're all going to be scared at the same level. Different dark places, but we're both scared. When you outright show what you're supposed to be scared of, when we already know what we're supposed to be scared of, it's not scary because then I'm like, oh, well, I kind of pictured it this way. And you'll be like, oh, I kind of pictured it that way. But then the person behind is like, well, that's exactly what I pictured. So now you have all these different emotional reactions to what we're seeing. That's why when you keep it in the darkness, when you keep it in the shadows, when we don't, the whole Jaws effect, right? That slow burn, you're more likely to be successful at terror and fear because when you're right out of the gate showing us the ghost or the shark or the killer or, the spirit or whatever we're supposed to be afraid of, if you show us right away so soon, then you have to rely on jump scares. Because now we all see what we're supposed to be afraid of. So it's a very tricky thing, and very rarely do horror movies get it right. Anthony Moreno says, do you think Michael's house will be in it and Judith's grave scene again? And do you think they will tribute Annie and Linda? Well, there is a photograph of director David Gordon Green kneeling down in front of Judith Meyer's gravestone. So we are led to believe that, yes, there's probably going to be a scene where... I don't think it's going to be Laurie because Laurie is not related to Judith Myers in this new movie. It will probably be a scene with the documentary filmmakers that maybe go to the graveyard to see the gravestone. It could be Laurie because of the connection she has. She might be there sort of paying her respects, but it's not because she's related to her. But that will probably be in the movie. Will the Myers house be in the movie? No. I don't think the Myers house will be in the movie at all. No. And they might even say that it was torn down or something to that effect. Will they do a tribute to Annie and Linda? No. You might see their gravestone maybe, but I don't think there'll be like a tribute in terms of... well, no, that's not true. Actually, I stand to be corrected because Nick Castle did say something to the effect of, I believe in one of the classrooms in the school, the word totally is written on the chalkboard. So you'll get, little things like that. Yeah, you'll probably get things like that for sure. Aaron Keller says, sick shirt, Dave. Yeah, Skeletor, man, one of my favorite villains. Judy Baker. Hey, Judy, what's up? How did Jason become supernatural? He was a little boy who drowned at summer camp. Organically. Yes, Jason was not literally supernatural either in the very first movie. Okay, he became supernatural, yes, through the natural progression of sort of being able to find what a Friday the 13th movie is. So a lot of people, Friday the 13th was one of those series that was constantly reinventing itself, and sort of, well, he's Jason like this. No, he's this kind of, no, he wears a hockey mask. No, he's supernatural. No, he's fucking huge. No, he's shorter. No, he's bigger. No, he goes to New York. No, he's in they're constantly reinventing. It almost becomes sort of shticky and kind of like a Saturday morning matinee serial of, classic monsters or something. Like it became really sort of silly. Like you can't really take the Friday the 13th franchise that seriously at all. But you're right. In the very first film, he wasn't like this supernatural kid that drowned, because at the very end of the movie, when he comes out of the water, you're left to believe that was a dream, that was obviously, was it not a dream? I don't know, right? You're left to believe that it was. But of course he became supernatural as time went on. April Ream. Hey, April Ream. Hey, Dave, you told me to ask this again. So your thoughts on Elvira? Yeah, I haven't. Okay, well, I do know that she's, what is she now? How old is she? She's in her 70s or something. She looks great, all things considered. But that is I still got to go back and watch. I got to go watch that because it's been years, April, since I have been up on Elvira and what's going on. But definitely I can say this to add to your question. She looks good for her age. She definitely looks good, which I think is pretty cool. Golden Girls went too long. I wouldn't. Yeah, John Messenger talking about the sitcoms. Yeah, I don't know about Golden Girls going too long. There's a lot of shows that do, though. I think The King of Queens went too long. Great questions, guys. 257 people watching. You guys are awesome. All right, Jared Robertson. Jared, I lost your thing. Yeah, don't worry, Jared. I'm scrolling back. I'll get you. Jared, where are you here? Oh, Jared, if I don't get you, I apologize. You might have to ask again, Jared. Ask your question again. Hopefully I'll see it. Okay, let's go down to King Killa. King Killa says, do you think the British guy in the trailer is related to Dr. Loomis? No, too easy. Unnecessary. Because if he was related to Dr. Loomis, then I mean, only to be killed. It seems sort of anticlimactic. I think if he was Dr. Loomis's son or grandson taking over the reins, well, yeah, that might make sense because then, he's a character you want to survive then, right? No, I think I think the reason why they chose British documentary filmmakers, is to show the reach and scope of how the 1978 murders became legend. Even though it was a small town and it was 40 years ago, excuse me, we have British documentary filmmakers coming from afar. It's like, wow, like it shows you how far the story has reached. It's, you know, it's reached even overseas. I think that's sort of maybe the base idea for it. To have him related to Dr. Loomis only to be killed in the first act of the movie just seems a little unnecessary. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Robert Shaw says, favorite Loomis scene and why, and please a crazy Loomis impression. Favorite Loomis scene? Well, I probably got to go with, I watched him for 15 years, sitting in a room, not seeing the wall, looking past the wall, looking at this night, inhumanly patient, waiting for some secret silent alarm to trigger him off. Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either choose to ignore it or help me to stop it. More fancy talk. I would have loved if Dr. Loomis at that moment was like, no, it's not fancy talk, you fucking piece of shit. We got a goddamn murder on the loose in this fucking town. Do you think I get fucking crazy just because? Fuck you. Can you imagine? That would have been funny. Silly Rally. Am I saying that? Yeah, Silly Rally. What do you think about the movie Unfriended? I personally don't like it at all. Hey, I'm going to say this about Unfriended. I actually didn't mind it. I actually didn't mind Unfriended. It surprised me. I watched the movie, and now hear me out, okay? Hear me out. I watched the movie, and I was expecting a shit show. Now, I didn't know anything about it. I saw it on Netflix. I wanted to kill a couple of hours in between VO sessions that I was doing here at home, so I turned it on. I had no idea. I didn't see any of the trailers. I had no idea that it was that the entire film was done through a Skype call. First of all, I think that's pretty cool. It was well executed. There was a slow burn. I thought the performances were really good. The strength of the movie is the performances. I bought that these teenagers, I bought that these teenagers knew each other. I believed that these teenagers could possibly all be friends and know each other. Yeah, it probably went on maybe 10, 15 minutes too long. But when I watched it, I was like, this is not bad. Now, it has a shelf life because of technology. And, you know, we're moving into the realm of VR very soon, over the next 5-10 years, even maybe, you know, before that. Virtual reality is going to be a reality. And so watching this movie 10 years from now, people, you know, kids are going to be like, oh my, Skype? Skype doesn't even exist anymore, or it's evolved into some sort of virtual, you know, reality thing. So it does have a shelf life because of the technology, but the performances, I thought, were all right. Like I believed them. I believed the ebb and flow of the conversations were very organic, very natural, very real. It didn't feel scripted, even though it was. Now, I do understand that they shot all of their performance separately, and then they shot sort of one master shot and did it all at once, and no doubt in post would have taken the best performances and edited them in. I know it's not a very popular thing to say, but I gotta say, all things considered, I thought it was all right. Definitely the strength. It was unique and different, so it was interesting to watch. I didn't find it boring. I found it interesting. And it played out very real to me. It was very organic. So I thought, oh, this seems like I'm watching an actual call. And because of that slow burn, I was, you know, it's like, wow, like, you know, what the fuck's gonna happen here? If you didn't buy into the performances, then no, you'd probably be bored to tears. But I thought it was all right. I don't think it's great, but I thought it was all right. Do not need a sequel. Do not need a sequel. We've seen this. No need for a sequel. But I understand why they're doing it, because it was hugely successful at the box office. Okay, let's see here. I'm just trying to get some people. We got 244 people watching. You guys are fucking awesome. Apparently, Justin says, who would win in a fight, Michael or Jason? I don't know. I have no idea who would win in a fight, Michael or Jason. Well, listen, if you want to be realistic, okay, and not pick sides because, well, I like Jason better, so I'm going to pick Jason. Well, I like Michael better, so I'm going with that. If you want a brutal, honest opinion, who would actually win? Jason. because he's literally supernatural. And he's a lot bigger than Michael Myers. And he can drown and come back to life. Now, I'm talking about the original intent of Michael Myers, right? The original intent of the character that Carpenter created. Yes, of course. Who's my favorite? Michael Myers is my favorite. But if we're literally putting them up against each other, okay, yeah, probably Jason. That's probably what's going to be. It's like, who would win, Jason or Freddy? Well, Freddy. Freddy's gonna win because Freddy lives in a literal dream world. Like, anything that happens to him doesn't really happen to him unless he comes into the real world. So, I mean, my bets are on Freddy, right? That's as brutally as honest as I'm gonna get. G. McLeod says, think we'll get a Red Band trailer. Red Band trailer for what? Dan Booth says, Rabbit in Red on this one, Dave. Rabbit in Red on this one. Rabbit in Red on this one. Let me know what you guys... Rabbit in Red. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I mean, I know what you're talking about in terms of Rabbit in Red. But I'm not sure what you're saying. Don Solo says, any news on Indiana Jones and the quest for the early bird special? Just kidding. I'll be the first in line for the new Indy. Yeah, no, as far as we know, they go to camera next April. Indiana Jones is going to camera next April, and I'm excited about it. I really hope. Now, we all know that this is going to be Harrison Ford's last go around as Indiana Jones. And he needs to be sent off in a blaze of fucking glory. Indiana Jones is up there with the icons of cinematic heroes. I mean, whether it's Rocky, whether it's Luke Skywalker, whether it's Indiana Jones. I mean, he's got to go out in a blaze of glory. It's got to be a good movie. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, a lot of people want to point to the aliens as the reason why the movie sucked. That wasn't the reason why the movie sucked. The reason why the movie sucked was because of its heavy reliance on CGI and because of the ending with the thing coming out of the thing. But also because there was no point when Indiana Jones was in any real danger. And I understand that Harrison Ford was, 65 at the time, and I'm not expecting him to be, leaping over, things like he would have been, say, in Raiders or Temple or Last Crusade. But he's also, 10 years younger than he is now. So there was no point where I felt that Indiana Jones was in any sort of real danger. The booby traps were weak. I didn't see any sweat on his face. I didn't see any, his shirt wasn't torn. He wore his jacket the whole time. He wasn't, running around. The only time he really, cracked a sweat was that half-ass fight he had with that big, Russian guy. I think that was before the ants, and of course there's CGI ants. There was just a lot of issues with the script that really had nothing to do with the aliens. The main sort of narrative and plot, the MacGuffin, essentially, the crystal skulls that they're going after. That could have been a real intriguing device because, again, like all Indiana Jones films, that is based on something that was real. They take creative licensing into effect, no doubt. But certainly that could have been a good movie. It could have been, but it looked too polished. It looked too clean. It didn't look gritty and grimy like the other ones did. Yeah, I just didn't. So for me, with this new Indiana Jones, with Lucas out of the mix, as much as I love him, I'm hoping that maybe they're aware, okay, let's go back. Let's not spend $250 million on this. Let's go back and shoot a Raiders film. Let's go back and shoot a fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark movie and give Indiana Jones his fucking send-up. I don't mean remake that movie. I mean that style, that visual aesthetic, right? That sort of pacing, that grit, that grime, like that B serial that I'm watching. Crystal Skull was like, whoa, I'm watching it's too clean, too polished, too rich, Anyway, yeah, let's hope. But they go to camera next April, apparently. Okay, again, if I don't answer your questions, it's nothing personal. You guys know this. I like to be thorough with my answers. Maybe I could get to more if I wasn't so thorough, but I like to be thorough because I think you guys deserve that. And sometimes I got a lot to say about what I want to talk about. Okay, Clay Bishop, why do you hate H2O? I don't like H2O because I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the way it looks. I saw Halloween H2O in the movie theater when it came out in 1998. I was 19 years old. And I wasn't crazy on it then. Look, it's always great to see Michael Myers on the screen. It's always nice to see your favorite horror slasher character on the screen. But the movie didn't feel like a Halloween movie. It was capitalizing on the late 90s horror boom with Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, what's that other one? The one with the... I'll think of it. Anyway, so it feels very mid-90s. It takes place in California, so there's no fall feel. There's no Haddonfield feel. There's no Midwest feel. The Midwest and the fall sort of environment is almost a character in and of themselves in the Halloween universe. You take Michael Myers and the story away from Haddonfield, away from the Midwest. Now, I know that the original film was not shot in the Midwest, but they shot in Pasadena, California, in certain locations where you could buy it. Looked a little green for autumn, but maybe they were having an unusually green autumn, right? But they had a bunch of leaves that, they put all over the ground, which they had to collect from shot to shot, right? We know all this. It had that Midwesterny sort of vibe. H2O doesn't have that at all. It takes place in California. It's brightly lit, blue sky. It's like Michael Myers walked onto the set of Dawson's Creek, and it doesn't feel right, and the cinematography doesn't feel like a Halloween. It feels like a modern pop culture-y, teen boppery slasher. And you got LL Cool J in there. I didn't like it. It doesn't feel like a Halloween film. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to see Jamie Lee Curtis back, reprising her role, but there's nothing Halloween about the movie. The reason why a lot of fans are really emotionally attached to H2O is because for a lot of fans, it was the very first Halloween film they saw in the theater. For a lot of Halloween fans, it helps to wrap up the sister trilogy, as it's sometimes known as, 1, 2, and H2O. And that's understandable. I get that. But when you look at the film objectively, there's no comparison. There's no explanation to how he survived the fire. There's no explanation to how he has both eyes. There's no explanation to why he's not burned. I mean, at least four didn't go as far as the eye thing, but at least 4 had his hands burned, and it just wasn't a good movie. It was clearly a money grab, mid-90s, capitalized. I've said this thousands of times. It didn't feel like a Halloween film. It felt like Michael Myers walked onto the set of Dawson's Creek, and he just happened to be attacking people, in some, which he was, and so I just didn't like it. It's not the worst Halloween film, but although it's up there. For me, it's not the worst. That goes to, well, it depends how I'm feeling. 5 or Resurrection. Okay, hey, we got people we got in here. 253 people watching. This is great. 47 minutes in. All right. Halloween Red Band trailer. No. Why? Oh, well, in terms of kills, no, I don't think so. I don't need to see it. Do we even need to see another trailer? Really? I mean, I'm talking about, do you need to see another trailer? Not do you want to see another trailer? You always want to see more. And we will see more. They're going to put a heavy sort of, effort into the marketing campaign surrounding this movie. So no doubt we'll see more in terms of clips, promos, and things like that, but we don't necessarily need to see it. Daniel Newbegin, hey Dave, can I get some life advice from D. Vinny? Yeah. Shut the fuck up! There you go. That's, if you guys don't know what that is, that's some funny shit I was doing on my channel a few years ago. I was playing this silly character called D. Vinny, just offering short life advice. It was just funny. Scott Norr says, hi from Toronto. Hey, are you saying hi? You're from Toronto? I'm from Toronto as well. I live in Toronto too. So hello. Okay. Klebtonic Entertainment says, do you expect Laurie to die? Do I expect her to die? Well, something's got to happen, because if Laurie doesn't die, and they want to make a sequel, and Laurie lives in Haddonfield, and Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't want to do any more Halloween movies, how are you going to explain that? So either Laurie is going to die, okay, fine, and Michael will survive, and then if they do a sequel, they may take him out of Haddonfield, because there's no reason for him to continue to kill in Haddonfield. I don't mean they take him and put him in space, or they take him and put him, on a boat to New York. I just mean that maybe he disappears, no one knows where he is, and then another town, 30 miles down the road, shit starts to go down. I don't know. But, realistically, if Michael continues to kill in Haddonfield, people are going to start moving out of the town, folks. I mean, it's unbelievably insane. So, Laurie, yeah, I'd say Laurie probably, I think she's going to eat it. Yeah. I would love for them both to die. Really. Because again, it's not that I'm not a fan. I am a fan. I want to remember Michael with, okay, we got the shitty ass sequels, but we got this one great one that's the send off, the tip. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Pack it up while you're still ahead. If you guys want 3, 4, or 5 more of these, knock yourself out. In 2023, you guys will be going, I don't get it. Why are we getting shitty Halloween movies? All right. Let me scroll back here. Scrolling. Again, folks, as I say periodically through live broadcasts, if I don't answer your question, it's nothing personal. Just a lot that I'm scrolling through. Loving My Flick says, where do you think the Alien franchise should go? Personally, I didn't like Prometheus. Covenant was okay, but I would like to see an Alien 5. I think they should stop making them. I don't think there's anything more to tell. And I know that Ridley Scott has all these ideas, but, a lot of the times what ends up happening, folks, is, directors and actors, once they get in, into their twilight years, not just in terms of age, but in terms of careers, they tend to rely on sort of the bona fide properties that made them famous and gave them huge success. We see it with Harrison Ford, Star Wars, Indiana Jones. We see it with Sylvester Stallone and Rambo and Rocky. We see it with directors as well from time to time. And I don't think there's anything more to tell. I know he wants to tell, and he wants to go back, and he wants to sort of relive that glory, but do something new. Think of a really great story that has nothing to do with Alien. Look what he did with the Martian, right? That was pretty good. That was Ridley Scott. He needed that. Ridley Scott needed that. Well, I know you're getting up there in age, but do something else. Go out on top. Try to think of a great story. A great story. And tell that story. Go out, do your best to go out on top. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But don't rely on shit that's come before, because this is why, I just don't want to see it. Aliens, great. It's great. You knocked it out of the fucking park. Do something else. Say what you want about James Cameron. He only makes a movie every, so often. But he fucking knocks it out of the park when he makes his fucking movies, because he concentrates on story, right? I know what you're going to say. Avatar was just Pocahontas, man. Avatar was just Pocahontas in space. Listen, Star Wars is not new either, okay? Star Wars is, if you think the story of Star Wars is new, no, the hero's journey has been told for millennia. Okay? It's nothing new. It just was not told in that way. And George Lucas will be the first to admit that. I really liked Avatar. It's not a new story, but we never saw it like that. Like, holy shit, what a presentation. It was amazing. Okay, Dan Booth says, original theme, stingers. How much will we see Castle as the shape? Okay, hey. This is for all you wondering about Nick Castle. I will probably mention this in a future video as well, but I'm going to mention it here on this live stream too, and I'll probably talk about it tomorrow night on Drum Dum's YouTube channel when myself, Lee from Drum Dum's, Cody Leach, and the guys from We Watched a Movie, Mike and Jay, we're doing Hallow Stream tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Drum Dum's channel. So I'll probably mention it there too if the conversation goes that way. But I'll mention it here right now. Folks, for those of you that are worried about Nick Castle's apparent one scene, right? According to James Jude Courtney, remember that scenes can have multiple moments. Scenes can have multiple shots. Okay, so when we see, if indeed Nick Castle is the one in the window, in the reflection in the mirror when Laurie, has the gun and shoots, the mirror, if that is Nick Castle, don't think that that is the only shot of Nick Castle as the Shape, okay? That could be the scene. It's that scene, but that scene could play out over the course of 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And there could be multiple shots of Nick Castle as the Shape. Maybe he's just murdered somebody and we see him there, and he's doing this, right? And he's doing this. Or maybe he sits up and does a turn. Or maybe, he picks something. There could be multiple moments with Nick Castle. So scenes can have multiple shots and multiple moments. Scenes can be 20 seconds. Scenes can be, 3.5 minutes. So just be aware that when James Jude Courtney said that Nick Castle is in one scene, he's not necessarily saying he's in one shot. Okay? So just be aware of that. For all of you that are thinking, oh, that's it? We're just going to see him through the thing? Maybe, but not necessarily. Okay? Okay, just scrolling back here, guys. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Richie Larue, am I saying that right? Larue? I'm probably Dave. It's said like this. What are you, dumb? And I read for a living. Shout out from West Virginia. How many kills do you think Michael will have in the new movie? He's going to have more than the first one. I say he's going to have between 7 and 10. That's what I'm going to say. 7 kills. Okay, Millie Z says, shout out for a Halloween fan who just got his first 100 subs. Love the vids, Dave. You inspired me to create content. Awesome. Millie Z just got his first 100 subs. Rock on, Millie. Good job. Okay. Dylan Klumbach. Or maybe it's Bach. What was the first horror movie you watched that made you fall in love with horror? It was probably one of the Elm Street movies. Probably a night I watched Elm Street before I watched Friday the 13th and Halloween. So it was probably, I'm going to say it was one of the Elm Street, probably the first Elm Street or the second Elm Street. So we're probably looking at, 1984, 85. Now, in 1984, I was only 5, and in 1985, I was only 6. So, but I was one of those kids. If you were a kid growing up in the 80s and you were into movies, and you liked horror movies, chances are your parents, it wasn't, 30 years ago, it wasn't the same. And I'm sure you guys it wasn't the same, man. Wasn't the same. I'm not saying that we should all let our children watch the horror movies that are out now. And even the very first Elm Street with the blood and gore was kind of I don't know what it was, man. Just, I watched them. And I'll never forget. You'll love this. I'm not sure if I've told this story or not, but I think you guys will really find this hilarious. Back in the mid-'80s, I wanted to play Freddy Krueger. I wanted to dress up like him, right, with my friends. And we're outside, so this is probably like 85, 86, and I didn't have the Freddy Krueger glove. This was a few years before they actually made the actual plastic glove. So what I did is I got a winter glove, and I got some Bic ballpoint pens, okay? And I taped them to my glove. So I have this winter glove with these, Bic pens, all on the glove. I mean, it was pretty lethal. If I went up to anybody, it was like, that would be pretty fucking lethal. So there I am, 6 years old, out on the street in this cowboy hat, which was the only thing I had, and you would never know that I was Freddy to look at me. You would just think that there's some weird fucking 6-year-old kid out on the street, and I don't mean like a, busy street, a neighborhood, right? Out on the street in this cowboy hat with this glove with these pens going, like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Like a possessed Randy Travis or something like that. Anyway, kind of funny. Okay. Scrolling back, Nathan Blizzard says, Dave, have you ever went out as Myers on Halloween night? I never went trick-or-treating as Michael Myers on Halloween night. because by the time I was too old to trick or treat, the Michael Myers masks, I was able to get my hand on sort of a Michael Myers mask, or what is sort of seen as a Michael Myers mask. And a lot of you guys know the ones I'm talking about from the early to mid 90s. It was sort of a pale white face, brown hair, brown eyebrows. Does not look anything like Michael Myers, but certainly it's that Michael Myers-esque look. And I purchased one in about 1995, because in 1995 I was 16 and I felt that I'm too old to trick or treat. Now I know there's a lot of guys, mostly guys, that like to go, trick or treating at that time, but I'm not really. I think it's kind of lame. So what I did was I decided to put on haunted house performances. And I would get all sorts of lights and the Halloween music and the fog machine and the pumpkins and the jack-o'-lanterns, and I would dress up as Michael Myers for when the trick-or-treaters would come to the door. So that's what I would do. And I did that as recently as just a few years ago. So, yeah, I love to do that, but I never actually trick-or-treated as Michael Myers. Good question. Okay, Rich Loveday says, something tells me 2018 is going to be too Rob Zombie-ish. What do you think, Dave? Well, I definitely think the potentiality is there for it to go that route. Certainly, as I've been saying ad nauseum for a long time, and you've heard me say this in a lot of my videos, I've said that we have to be prepared that this is a modernized telling of the original film. So, what do I say? They're bringing it into the 21st century. They're doing it like John did it, but they're bringing it into the 21st century. I like the trailer. I wasn't blown away by it. I'm hoping that there are Michael Myers-esque things that are true to the character of Michael Myers from the first movie that we get to see in this new film. They're not there. Coming out of the darkness, right? Or we slowly see him emerge from the darkness. Standing across the street, watching from the shadows. We didn't really see any of that in the trailer. So I'm hoping that when the movie comes out, we see that, because that's if this is a direct sequel to the original, that's being true to his character. That's what he would do. That doesn't mean that the character hasn't evolved over 40 years and he might not have a few new tricks up his sleeve. But by and large, that's the character that we know and remember. It's not from Halloween 2, 1981. It's not from 4, 5, 6, H2O, or Resurrection. This is the original incarnation of the character. So I want to see more of that. And I didn't see that. So do I think it's going to go totally Rob Zombie-esque? No. And if it does, then all of us fans should be fucking pissed. Because they lied. They blatantly lied to you then. Do I think it's going to be more intense? Yes. Do I think there's going to be more blood? Yes. Not gore, but blood? Yes. Because, again, it's a modern retelling of the film. They need to do that. They need to amp it up a bit. But hopefully they stay true to the what the character was, the ghostly, absence of character, absence of motive, there, not there, that hopefully they stay true to that, and he's not, in plain sight all the time, because it's like he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't just walk into a room. He would, survey a room, survey, a house, watch, from a distance, creep in, all that kind of stuff. I want to see that. So, we'll see. Scrolling back. Yeah, this is great. The Film Addict says, do you think Dean Cundey is missing in the new Halloween film? Well, we have to remember too, folks, the director and the director of photography work very closely together. It's the director's vision of what he wants the scene to look like, on what the visual aesthetic of the scene he wants to look like, and he works with the DP, and it's the DP's job to make that a reality. So what you're seeing is, by and large, not just a result of the DP, but it's the result of David Gordon Green. This is the visual aesthetic that this director wanted, and it's the DP's job to make that a reality. So is Dean Cundey missing? I don't know. Because if Dean Cundey was on the project, it's not like Dean Cundey could then suddenly say, well, I'm going to light this with a lot of blue light. Well, David Gordon Green could say, no, I don't want you to do that. I want to light this like this and do this. And then Dean Cundey will be like, okay. And then he might bring his expertise, maybe some expertise that this current DP may not have, may or may not have, because of his years of experience, and may add some subtle nuances into the scene that is like, oh, yeah, okay, that's good. But at the end of the day, it's the director's vision who's working very close with the DP. And so, you know, I don't know if it would have changed that much. I'm not entirely sure. A little bit, because each DP will have his own sort of stamp. But if a scene is brightly lit, or if a scene is lit with tungsten balanced daylight rather than daylight balance, or is low-key, is not low-key lighting, it may not be low-key lighting, or it may still be tungsten balanced even with Dean Cundey, because that's what David Gordon Green wants. So we have to remember that. So is he missing? Hard to say, really. Not too sure. Jake V says, thoughts on the Scream franchise? I like part 1, and I think it should have just ended there. Because Scream relies on its gimmicks. It's a horror movie within a horror movie, and it was really smart, really inventive, and really well done. Once you do sequels to that, the novelty wears off. It's always fun to guess who's the killer, but what they brought to the very first Scream movie in terms of its, horror sort of cliches and things to do and not do, and that movie within a movie was cool. It was cool to see. It's a show. It acts almost like a stage play. It's like a one-off show that you see, that you want to see again and again. To do a sequel to that, or 3 or 4, it's kind of like, what are we doing? Like, we're just doing the same show over and over again with different people as the killer. So I never gravitated towards part 2, 3, or even 4. I thought 4 was not bad, considering that they had waited, I believe, 11 years, I think it was, 10 or 11 years. So it wasn't bad in that regard, but it still was like, yeah, nothing compares to the first one. The first one was really smart. It was really good. Nobody had done that before. And it should be left alone, kind of like a Clue, right? Like the board game Clue and the movie Clue, or some sort of classic movie, or like The Others, right? The Others was really good. Or, The Sixth Sense, right? It's like, oh, that was really good. That was kind of, Scream, that was really fun. It doesn't lend itself to tell the same thing over again. I understand from a business perspective why they did it, but it's unnecessary. So I just really like the first one, because I think it's a one-off sort of, that's fine. You don't need to do any more. Okay. Lenny Arroyave, am I saying that right? Royave? Probably butchering it. Will you make a sequel to your fan film, The Night He Came Back? That was a great piece of work. You play the shape very well. Love your videos. Thank you, Lenny. No immediate plans to make a sequel to Halloween, The Night He Came Back. I left the movie, obviously, the ending very ambiguous and open to the possibility of one. But to do that takes a lot of time. And for those of you who don't know, obviously, I'm a full-time professional voiceover actor. It's my day-to-day job, and I want to factor this channel into my day-to-day now. That's why I'm got a Patreon, and we're doing this. So no immediate plans, because that does take a lot of work. To do a movie of that caliber, a fan film of that sort of caliber, does take a lot of work and a lot of attention to detail. So not at the moment, but you never say never. Okay, the Dark Society. I thought I saw the Dark Society here. And I just... Oh, there we are. The Dark Society says, do you think we will ever see Jason versus Michael movie? I hope not. I hope not. It's too gimmicky. I don't want to see it. I didn't really like the Freddy versus Jason movie. I understand why they did it, because Freddy and Jason arguably were the two greatest icons of the 1980s, more so than Michael ever could have imagined to be, because between 1981 and 1988, there was no Michael Myers movies, and there was a plethora of Jason and Freddy movies. They owned the 80s decade. Jason and Freddy owned the 1980s. And that's why there was a Freddy versus Jason. And it makes sense from a supernatural perspective. Makes sense. Freddy versus Michael, Jason versus Michael, it's too gimmicky for me. It's like, what would Han Solo say if he met Indiana Jones and they had to work together? And it's like, I don't know. Cody Archer says, Dave, how much screen time do you believe Will Patton will have? He is always great and everything. He is good. Yeah, he's good. I don't think he's going to have a lot of screen time. I think it's going to be more along the lines of Sheriff Brackett in the original film. So you'll see him in those moments. I think he's probably going to be skeptical. Something I said in my predictions video back in February, I said that I believe that there's a high probability that Laurie Strode is going to be sort of the crazy woman of the town. And that people are kind of like, oh, she's... And sure enough, that is what it looks like it's being. So I think everybody is aware of her. And like Jamie Lee Curtis said, instead of calling Wolf all these years, she's called Michael. And nobody believes her, and her own family is sort of estranged. And but now this just so happens to be the moment where she's right, and all hell, breaks loose, so to speak. So will we get a lot of Will Patton? I think we'll get moments of him. I think he'll act as sort of the Sheriff Brackett. I don't know if he's the sheriff, but he's going to sort of take on that role. So yeah, good question, Cody. Okay. Peter Fragoso says, do you think Sheriff Brackett will be in the new movie to get revenge for Annie's death? Or maybe he'll be too old. What do you think? Well, there's been no word that Charles Cyphers is in the new movie. That doesn't mean he's not. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's possible that they could have gotten him on. He is quite old now. I think he's if he's not in his 80s, he's most certainly in his 70s. And there was really no word of him hanging around the set or signing on, and that would have been a very hard thing to keep secret. So I don't know. I mean, there might be mention of him. Maybe there's a picture of him on the wall at the police station, maybe. That kind of thing, like kind of how what they did in Jaws, The Revenge, which was a fucking shit show of a movie. But you remember in that movie at the very beginning where there's the photo of Roy Scheider's character of Chief Brody. There's a big picture of him on the wall. He's kind of like, you know what I mean? Just kind of like, maybe they'll do that with Sheriff Brackett, something like that. I could see that. But actually in the movie, I don't know. Okay. Aaron Touche says, I know I'm way behind, Dave. I've been in and out. No worries. No worries, Aaron. Okay. Hansel, Herrera says, what do you think about the Victor Miller case? Yeah, I think Victor Miller and who's the other? Sean S. Cunningham, I believe those are the two guys. Or is there somebody else? I don't. I think they just all have to fucking just fucking grow the fuck up. Now, having said that, don't get me wrong, okay? As somebody who works in the industry, I do understand the legalities at play, and I do understand what's yours is yours is yours is yours. And when you have ownership over something, the facts are the facts. But at the end of the day, I really think that it's like, guys, come on. There has to be some sort of, common ground we can come to here for the sake of the franchise, for the sake of its legacy, for the sake of the fans, and for the sake of us, right? I just think that they can do it. They absolutely can do it. But I think there's probably more at play than just the legalities. I think there's probably some bad blood, but I don't know. Maybe you guys do, and you can comment and let me know. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's some bad blood sort of, between the two anyway. And some of this may or may not be spite. But good question. Zachary Rhoda says, did you hear about the Michael versus Jason fan film this October? I'm assuming you meant fan film, not van film. A fan film that takes place in a van. Or maybe that's what you meant. No, I haven't heard about that. Aaron Touche. Okay, I have a question. You got good lighting on your movies. You know how to set the lighting. You got very good lighting. I got to give you that. Yeah, well, I can't take credit for all of it, of course, because my best friend of 26 years, who I did a live stream with, you guys may remember him, Bruce Dale. He works for William F. White International here in Toronto, which is the largest film, which is Canada's largest distributor of motion picture, theatrical, and television equipment in Canada in terms of lighting and grip gear. So when the big boys come up to Canada and to Toronto, by and large, they will go to White's to rent their equipment. So we were able to obviously go to White's and rent a lot of their gear. And Bruce, of course, was my gaffer and key grip on the night he came back, and he knows a shit ton about lighting and a shit ton about lighting and how to light a scene and how to interpret what I'm saying into making that a reality. And so I can't take all the credit because the dude knows his stuff. So he's not only my best friend, but he's my go-to guy when we work on independent films. So so my hat goes off to him as well. So it's a lot of fun. And he did a great job. Absolutely a great job. I certainly know a thing or two. But he knows a lot more than I do simply because of the environment that he works in every day. Solid Nefarious, I like that, says, do you plan on a sequel to your fan film? Already answered that. You can go back and watch it. Not at the moment. Maybe, but not at the moment. Okay, let's see if I can get some new ones here. Okay, people who have not asked questions. Okay. This is great. Still about 230 people watching. This is a lot of fun, guys, on this Friday night. Again, if I don't answer your questions, it's nothing personal. There's a lot of people in the room. The feed is going by fast. Try to remember your question like April Ream did and ask it in a future AMA. Okay, David Lee Barron says, do you think the new Halloween will be another shit show? No, I don't think it's going to be a shit show. But it's going to be totally dependent on... No, I don't think it's going to be a shit show. But at the end of the day, I think there's a high probability it could be the best Halloween movie we've had since the original, and certainly since Halloween 2, 1981. Yes. Because they're going back to the roots, and even though they're bringing it into the 21st century, they're going back to the roots and the flavor of that original film that we love so much. I'm spitting like a madman here. It's because I'm talking so much and I'm getting dehydrated. Hopefully you guys can't see that on camera. Eddie Mania says, what do you think of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974? Love it. Love the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, it's different, of course. It's a typical slasher movie. But I love 70s horror. I love the visual aesthetic of the cinematography when it comes to films like Halloween, Black Christmas, good Canadian movie, by the way, shot right here in Toronto. Some of you guys may not know that. The original Texas Chainsaw, The Exorcist, When the Hills Have Eyes, Last House, on the left. I really love 70s horror. Love it. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre the original is probably I didn't mind the remake from 2003. I saw that one in the theater. But the first one is great. It's fun. It's creepy. Yeah, imagine, it's creepy. It's great. Okay, Brandon Gregory says, besides the original mask, what is your favorite mask of the sequels, 2018 excluded? Side note, it can even be from a movie you think is a shit show. Besides the original mask, what is your favorite mask of the sequels? Well, I think it's unfair to say Halloween 2, 1981, because that is the same mask. But I do have to say it, because it did fit Dick Warlock differently than it did Nick Castle. Now, Nick Castle has a longer face. Dick Warlock has a more rounder face, probably like me. Actually, I think I'm more in the middle. I'm not quite round, but I'm not quite long. I'm more in the middle, which is probably... which is why probably in some of the videos I do or the fan films I do, there are moments where I'll look like Nick Castle, and there are moments where I'll look more like Dick Warlock. So I kind of have a hybrid of both. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to say Halloween 2, but I know that's not really fair because it's the same mask. If I had to choose another mask, I'd probably... You know what? This is not going to be popular, but I'm probably going to say Halloween 4. It's a shit show of a mask. But I think it grows on you more so than any of the other masks do. I didn't like the H2O mask. I didn't like how they used 3 or 4 different masks. I didn't like the 5 mask. I'm not crazy on the 6 mask. Resurrection, I guess, is okay, but the movie's a fucking shit show, and I can't stand the movie so much that I just can't get attached to anything else in the movie. Trick or treat, motherfucker! I just can't get into it. Yeah, I mean, it's a shit show of a mask, but I'm gonna have to say maybe it's got its own unique look that when you get used to the fact that it's different, it's creepy. It's creepy in certain moments, but it's a fucking shit show at the same time. Yeah. Good question there, Brandon. Okay, let's scroll up here, see if I missed anybody. Obviously, I know I have, but I just want to try to be fair. Philip Robinson says, they will never top Halloween 2. They can't do it, and you know it. Are you talking to me? Well, first of all, I think Halloween 1 is far superior to Halloween 2. I don't think Halloween 2 even holds a candle to the original 1978 film, because Halloween 2... of course, began the process of capitalizing on sort of the modern cliches that we grew to know when horror sort of had that resurgence and transition in the 1980s. And so that's why there are more jump scares in Halloween 2, something the original Halloween did not rely on for the most part. That's why there's more blood in Halloween 2, something you hardly saw any of in the original Halloween. There's not a lot of low-key lighting in Halloween 2. My favorite moment in Halloween 2 is probably the most Halloween 1 moment you'll have, which is the moment when the nurse, what's her name? Is it Karen? Is that it? Or Janet? Is it Janet? The young one there, where she goes into the back office to get Dr. Mixter, and she turns him around. There's, the needle in his eye. She backs up into the darkness, and Dick Warlock's mask slowly emerges from the dark. That is an amazing moment. That's Dean Cundy right there. But people have to remember, too, that Dean Cundy also he was the DP on Halloween 2. And it doesn't look visually... it looks a bit different than Halloween 1. So that goes back to that question that person asked about, would the new Halloween movie look more like Halloween 1 with Dean Cundy on board? Yes, maybe, but it all depends on what the director wants and whether the director, wants to have the same visual aesthetic style. The DP certainly matters, don't get me wrong, and they bring their own stamp to things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what the director wants in terms of his vision. So, but certainly that moment when Michael comes out of the darkness in Halloween 2 to stab the nurse in the eye with the needle, that's the most Halloween, or one of the most Halloween 1 moments you get in that movie, which is probably why I like it. So, I think they could top Halloween 2, 1981. Yes, I do think they could, but it all depends on it's going to be modern, so it's going to have that modern feel. I'm hoping it's a nice balance between what we see, what's modern and old school. I'm hoping it's a really nice balance, that they work really well together, but that's a tricky thing to pull off. Okay, moving right along. Sue Alexander says, I watched Black Christmas for the first time last night. It was great. Yeah, it was great. Good Canadian film, shot right here in Toronto, and totally reliant on the, what you think you see sort of creepiness, the fact that he's there in the sorority house the whole time. Oh, it's great. It's a great 70s old school classic horror movie that relies on suspense and that slow burn. And I love the ending where the camera is just, moving out from the window and there's no music. and it's just the elements, and you hear the phone ringing. And I think you might hear some carolers maybe. I can't remember. And the credits begin to roll, and you know the woman is dead in the attic. And it's like, holy fucking shit. It's great. I love it. Love that shit. Daniel Sir Alex H says, do you like Psycho 2? I have not seen Psycho 2 in years. So I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember if I liked it or not. I'll have to watch it again. Let me see here. Scrolling. Kevin Fitzpatrick says, what did you think of the Hills Have Eyes remake of 06? You know, I remember actually liking it. I remember liking it. When a movie is supposed to be gory, when the content and the narrative lends itself, okay, it's this kind of movie, right? I'm going to watch a movie that is going to be a little sadistic, a little, fucked up, a little out there, a little cannibalistic, or a little, whatever the case is, gory. When I go into knowing that it's this kind of movie, if it's executed really well, and it's not just a total gore fest, or it's not, there's some suspense there, and maybe there's a psychological component to it. I don't mean it's a psychological horror, but there's a little bit of a component there. I actually can find myself enjoying the film, despite the fact that it's a gore fest, or it's a sort of, intense, what am I trying to say? Sort of, a gore fest, per se. I can find myself enjoying it. And I haven't seen The Hills Have Eyes from 2006 in quite some time, but I remember liking it and thinking, this was all right. There was some intense, fucked up moments. I like this. Yeah. Good question, Kevin. Dead Slayer 1911. Sorry, my chair is squeaking here. I got to put some WD-40 on it. Just scroll up. We're doing okay here. Yeah. What do we got? Yeah, Dead Slayer 1911 says, hey, Dave, if the cameo for Nick Castle is the mechanic that Michael kills, do I think? No. I do not think the scene with Nick Castle in the movie is the mechanic. At this point in time, I don't think it is. Scrolling here. Tim Mendez says, you think they will play the song Mr. Sandman at the beginning of the 2018 movie? No, I don't think they will. I think you might hear it in the movie, but I'm not so sure you're going to hear it at the beginning of the movie. Geeked Out Turtles fan 38 says, Turtles, that's great. I love the name. Do you have a favorite low horror budget? Do you have a few favorite low horror budget films that are on your go-to, a la Silent Night, Deadly Night, My Bloody Valentine, and April Fools? April Fools is great. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Yeah, was that not Silent Night, Deadly Night? Was that not Black Christmas? Or was that another one? Maybe that was another one. No, that was a different one. Yeah, okay. Silent Night, Deadly Night was a different one. Yeah. Black Christmas was called something else when it was released in the States. I like April Fools. I like low budget horror. I like April Fools. That was good. Well, Halloween's low budget. Elm Street was low budget. The first Friday the 13th was low budget. The Hills Have Eyes back in the 70s was low budget. There's a lot of, but I think I know what you're talking. Let me think on that. I got to think on that. Good question, but I got to think on that. Because I think what you're saying is that maybe isn't mainstream horror, sort of under the radar horror, because Halloween was low budget, $320,000, but it's one of the most popular horror movies in horror history. So I think you mean sort of low budget in terms of under the radar, kind of not a lot of people know about or think about. I got to think on that. Good question. Halloween 2000, the Smokey S's says Halloween 2018 budget was 10 million. Yeah, that's what I heard. 10 million, which falls in line with what I predicted. I think 10, what did I say in my predictions video? I think I said 10 to 15, or something like that. So it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. Sorry. It doesn't surprise me that it is 10 million. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Rocky Voorhees says, Dave, will we get a 40th anniversary Halloween Blu-ray release of the original? Yeah, probably. That's probably in the works. Yep, 100%. That wouldn't surprise me. You might even get, I was going to say you might get the 2018 one on it as well. They might do a 2-pack, but that would be impossible for this year. They'd have to do that next year. You might even get that as well. Anything to make money, folks. Anything to make money. Money. How many people we got watching? 240 something. That's great. You guys are fucking awesome. Jessica Dominic says, do you think it's a mistake that Danny McBride keeps talking about a sequel before the movie even comes out? No, I don't think so. I think it gets people hyped up. I think maybe if he had told what their idea was for a potential story, if they had said, oh yeah, man, we got this idea where Michael, okay, well, because if they had told you their idea for a sequel, then that would be huge insight into the narrative and story in this new film. So I think it shows that they're confident in their story that they're telling. Listen, folks, the new Halloween is going to do very well at the box office. It's going to. We know that. But that doesn't mean that you're going to like the movie. As I've said countless times in videos, just because a movie makes a lot of money doesn't mean it was a good movie. The question is not how much money does a movie make. I mean, business-wise, yes, 100%. But for the film fan, the question is not how much money does a movie make. The question is how many of those people that went to see it liked it, because you can't get your money back. So if a movie makes $100 million at the box office, that's great. Opening weekend, that's great. That's fantastic. But how many people liked it? So the score that I tend to lean on more would be the cinema score, which comes out usually, I think, a week after the movie's been out, or a few days, or I think within a week or so. That's the rating you want to pay close attention to. Don't pay attention. I mean, pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes, sure, but take it with a grain of salt. Okay? Pay attention to what people are saying that are going to see the movie. Average movie fans, and that is the cinema score. So don't put so much stock into how much money a movie makes, okay? So anyway, to answer your question, that was a roundabout. To come back to it, no, I don't think it was a mistake, because it shows that they might have confidence and they're dangling a carrot, and that gets you into the seat. Oh, well, they want to do, oh, geez, if they already have, whoa, okay, what's this? Well, that's kind of interesting. I got to go check this out. Tiffany K, where is Veda? Veda's on the couch out here. I'm in my basement in my home here, and she's out on the couch. I think she might be on the couch. She might be somewhere else. I have no idea. For those of you who don't know, Veda is my black cat, and she is out on the couch. She's definitely going to need a lot of cuddles after this. When she hears me talking, because she's like, who the hell are you talking to? You're in there for 2 hours. Who are you talking to? She's going to need a lot of cuddles after this. Okay, great questions, guys. I love, as well, that you guys are interacting with each other in the chat room. I think that's totally awesome. Cody Martin says, I think it will blow it away. In terms of opening weekend, I don't know, man. For those of you who think that this new Halloween film is going to make $100 million at the box office, I think it's possible that this Halloween film could make, it wouldn't surprise me if it made anywhere between 30 to 40 million opening weekend. I think that's really good. I think if it makes 100 million, I mean, look, we're talking like, that's like a if you want to think that, okay, it would shock me if this movie made $100 million opening weekend. Okay, it does not have, it's got a huge following, but this isn't Star Wars. This isn't Marvel. Okay? This does not have the universal reach that a lot of these bona fide properties have. So I think if this movie makes 35, 40 million opening weekend, that's huge. if it makes in upwards of 100 million its domestic run, that's hugely successful. You have to remember, look at the opening weekends. Granted, okay, we've come a long way since then, but look at the opening weekends of all of the Halloween films, even H2O, the Rob Zombie films. They're not, $100 million opening weekend movies. They open well. They open big. They have their following in accordance to their following. Yes, 35, 40 mil. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. A lot of hype around this. Sure. 100 million? I don't know. I'm very skeptical on that. Okay, scrolling down here. K316 says, hey, Dave, was Michael Myers born evil or was he possessed by it? Well, it depends on what your definition of evil is. I think Michael Myers isn't literally possessed by something. I don't think he is possessed by a spirit or, the devil. I think that there are some people in this world that are born with a few screws loose. And there are some people that are just not all there. Psychologically, their brains are not developed for whatever reason in certain parts of their brain. They lack empathy. They lack reason. They lack the ability to, empathize, sympathize. A lot of psychotics do that. You read up on the great sort of, I don't say great in terms of what they did was great. I mean sort of, notorious, let's put it that way. The notorious serial killers of our time, Jeffrey Dahmer and, Ted Bundy and, read up on the psychological components to them. And I think that is, you could say, therefore, in that regard, they are possessed, they are driven by evil. Right? So I think Michael Myers is an incarnation of that. He was a kid that was going to go this route regardless. And he is evil. He is a very serious, he's a Dahmer. He's a John Wayne Gacy. He's a Ted Bundy. He's a Manson. He's going that. So that's what I think. I don't believe that he's literally possessed by a supernatural force. That's a spirit that gets it. I don't believe that's what Donald Pleasance meant. When Donald Pleasance said in Halloween 2, he's not human, again, going back to the original incarnation of the character, he's not meaning that he is literally not human. It's a figure of speech, how could John Wayne Gacy murder all those boys and then stuff them in his floorboards and in the walls of his house? This guy's fucking not human. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what he means. I shot him 6 times. He's not human. Who is this guy? He's not human. You know what I'm saying? That's how I interpret it. Because again, I'm going back to the original intent of the character. Michael Myers became supernatural in the later sequels, as we know, because they had to justify keeping him alive. So if you want to follow that, Michael, fair enough. But that's not my Michael. So yeah, there's no literal evil spirit possessing him. He's evil. He's a darkness. He's a dark place that only few people, go, it's crazy shit. And it's darkness that I'm not saying each and every one of us has a Ted Bundy inside of us or a Manson or a Dahmer. But we all have darkness inside of us, and that's what makes it so intriguing and interesting. He's gone to, he's there, and we have that place inside of us, but we're not. That's why we're fascinated with serial killers, right? And the notorious sort of serial killers of our time. And Myers would be up there. If he was real, he would be up there with those people, right? So anyway, that was long-winded, but that was a lot of fun to talk about. Great question. Okay, let's see here. We'll do another 20 minutes. We'll go 2 hours. How's that sound? Another 20 minutes, and then we'll wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, still about how many people are watching here? This is great. You guys are freaking awesome. 248 people watching. Just a reminder, tomorrow night over on Drum Dum's YouTube channel, the Hallow stream. Drum Dum's, Lee from Drum Dum's, me, Cody Leach, And Mike and Jay, the guys from We Watched a Movie, we will be talking everything Halloween tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Drum Dum's YouTube channel. This is like a, compilation of... coming together, I mean to say, of worlds colliding. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. It's a stream you do not want to miss. That's tomorrow night, Saturday, June the 16th, 2018, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just want to make sure I'm saying everything right. Okay, scrolling down here. The Smoky S's says, you think Loomis's son is the taunting guy from the trailer? No, I said that earlier in the feed. No, I do not. It would make no sense. It's unnecessary to have him as his son because he's British and he has an accent. Again, as I said earlier, why would you do that and then just kill him? I don't get it. If you want to make him his son, you make him one of the main, protagonists. Then it makes sense. But to make him his son, to kill him, why? It doesn't. Oh, that's his son. Who cares? I could be wrong, but I just think it's a creative choice that's just dumb then. Unless he's going to have some sort of significance to the overall movie. But as far as we know, it looks like he's killed in the first act of the film. Michael rams his head off of the bathroom door. So, well, and those teeth that are falling into that's probably his teeth, not Michael's teeth, the English documentary guy. So, I mean, why is he Loomis's son? Why? Anyway, Chet N9NE. Chet says, how did Michael carry Judith's tombstone? I don't know. You weren't supposed to know. Did he levitate it? Was he going, oh, was he, walking? I don't know. You weren't supposed to know. Maybe it's not a heavy tombstone. Maybe it's, it's heavy, but it's not all that heavy. I have no idea. That's one of the things that you weren't supposed to know, right? So many people, because of the later sequels, they go back and they read too much into the original. Again, the original Halloween was supposed to be a one and done film. That was it. The ending of the movie was, you look over the balcony, he's gone. Oh, that's it. That's it. A Hitchcockian, Twilight Zone-y kind of film. He's the boogeyman, right? You weren't supposed to know. In a 1999 interview with John Carpenter, he's always said that Michael Myers, he says, he's human with supernatural elements. He's part human, he's part, you weren't really supposed to know what he was. That was the whole point of the thing. How did he get the tombstone? I don't know. It's irrelevant. You weren't supposed to know. But because of the subsequent sequels that made him supernatural, and then when people like me come along and say, well, yes, but you have to forget the original intent. Yes, but you have to remember, those sequels didn't exist. He wasn't literally supernatural in the first movie, right? It's just one of those things that you weren't supposed to know. How did he get shots and get up and walk? I don't know. That's that supernatural vibe. How was he there and then not there? It's that supernatural vibe, right? It's fun. It's supposed to leave you feeling, what's going on? But he's not literally supernatural, like he's Jason or Freddy. Okay, let's see if we can get some other questions here. Nelson Acosta says, hey, Dave, although he's probably too old now, do you think Morgan Freeman could have made a decent Loomis in a remake? Picture his role as Somerset in Seven. Yeah, I was just thinking that when you asked that. I don't think Morgan... Well, maybe. I'm not sold on it, though. I don't know if Morgan Freeman has the intensity. He has the rhythm. He can certainly... He has the rhythm in terms of being eloquent and rhythmic in terms of his performance. He's got presence. In terms of the intensity, I'm not so sure. That's a good question. I have to think of that more. Breen Machine says Bryan Cranston would have made a great Dr. Loomis. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I'd be open to auditioning Morgan Freeman. I would be open to have... Now, of course, when you get to that level, very, very rarely do you audition. You still do from time to time. But it all depends on the ego as well. But I would be open to Morgan Freeman auditioning. I would be open to Bryan Cranston auditioning. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Malcolm McDowell, if he was given better material, would be and is a great Dr. Loomis. He has the intensity to be a great Dr. Loomis, but he's in this weird Rob Zombie world where in the first 10 minutes of the movie I'm hearing the words "skull fuck you, bitch." You know, and saying all it's like, oh, what world? I'm in this hick world, you know, and it's like, so he's a Loomis in that world. So it's just kind of like, I think if you were to bring Malcolm McDowell into a more grounded, realistic world like we're getting, I'm not saying that there isn't that world, does not exist, but I mean, bring it from the South to the Midwest, so to speak. I think Malcolm McDowell would have been okay. I think he would have made a great Loomis, a more serious, you know, a more serious approach in a more grounded, realistic world. Yeah, that's not bad. But there's others out there. Okay, Brandon Rodriguez says, Dave, do you think it's possible? Oh, there I go, spitting again. God, talking a lot here, folks. As long as my spit's not hitting the camera, we're all good. That's what happens when you talk. You talk nonstop for almost 2 hours straight. I got water. I got another water here. It's like, fuck, I just got to keep going. Okay. Iraq veteran 714 says, Rob Zombie's Halloween was trying to be like Texas Chainsaw Hillbilly movie. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, you know, give Rob credit for making it his own. Fair enough. But it's too much of a 180 for me to get into it. It's just way too much. But hat goes off to you, Rob. You made it your own. Yeah, I was talking about that. Who was I talking that? Was it a live broadcast? Maybe it was with Tony Michael on a live broadcast. April Ream says, I think Ben Kingsley would have made a great Loomis. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Ben Kingsley, maybe Patrick Stewart. I might choose Ben Kingsley over Patrick Stewart. Yeah, I could totally see that. Yes. That's the flavor and the essence you want. I agree. I would be willing to bring Ben Kingsley in and be like, okay, let's read some sides here, which is basically a script for those of you who don't know. Let's read some sides here and see how you do. But of course, again, you get to A-list level, and these people, depending on their egos, might be like, oh, I'm not reading, it's just you either want me or you don't. It's like, well, yeah, I'm not sure yet. Yeah, great suggestion, April. I agree 100%. Okay. 15 minutes to go, guys. Halloween 1978 says, Dave, what scene is the most scariest and suspenseful from Halloween 19... I think my favorite Halloween 1978 scene, there's two, of course. There's the one where he strangles Linda, the whole ghost, see anything you like? Which I think in the VHS version, I think you actually do see her boobs. But in the, like in the 4:3 version, but in the 16:9 in the widescreen, I think it's cut off by the black bars, I think. Anyway, as a kid, I remember going, oh. Anyway, that's my favorite kill scene. I love that scene as well because it's the first time we're introduced to Michael Myers. Sorry, I stand to be correct. It's the first time we're introduced this clearly to the Michael Myers mask, is what I mean. So I love that moment. Love that payoff. But my favorite probably moment is when he sits up behind Laurie, when he does the whole sit up and the turn. And the reason why, it's the creative choice in the way that John Carpenter made in order to... It's the creative choice that John Carpenter made in its execution for this scene. You have Laurie leaning against the wall, and you have Nick Castle in the background. Laurie is in focus. Nick Castle is not in focus. Okay? Now, the creative choice could have been made, and if this was a modern horror movie, very likely may have been made, to rack focus. And for those of you who don't know what rack focus is, that is simply when somebody in the foreground is in focus, and somebody or something in the background is out of focus, and you pull focus, you rack focus, okay, to then have the image in the background in focus and the image in the foreground out of focus. So you just reverse it, essentially, okay? So what was once in focus is now out of focus, and what was once out of focus is now in focus. Bah! Did I say that right? I've been talking for almost 2 hours, guys. My apologies. So you could have seen that. In a modern day film, it wouldn't surprise me if when the shape sits up and turns his head, they racked focus so we could see him clearly. But Carpenter didn't do that. He didn't do it. The shape is out of focus the whole time. Laurie remains in focus. There was a calculated, creative decision made that when Nick Castle sits up and does his head turn, we're going to leave him out of focus. So we just kind of see him blurry there in the background. Now, he's in focus enough. There's a bit of a soft focus. He's in focus enough that we know what he's doing. We know that he's sitting up and turning his head, but we don't see it with any sort of real clarity. That is great. That's great. We don't need to see him clearly. We're just like, oh, fuck, he's sitting up. We know he's sitting up. And the fact that we can't see him clearly is like, oh, shit, that's awesome, right? One of my favorite, if not the favorite moment in any Halloween film. It's just great. And it would have lost its impact for me if they had racked focused and Michael would have been in focus. Not nearly as effective as leaving him out of focus. Okay, rolling right along. Zach Jones says, I feel Dr. Loomis is a bit of an old Obi-Wan Kenobi. I feel Dr. Loomis has a bit of old Obi-Wan Kenobi to him. Yeah, he does a little bit. Dude says, think we'll get any brand new kills in the new Halloween? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%. Let me scroll and see if I can get any other questions other than Halloween. I love you guys, but let's see if we can get anything else other than Halloween here. Hey, Dave from West Virginia here. What kind of music do you listen to? Great question, Let It Go 101. I listen to all kinds. There really isn't a specific type of music that I listen to, per se, that I follow. I love AC/DC, but I'll listen to anything from top 40 to pop to hip hop, to classic rock to whatever, if it's got a good beat and I'm like, yeah, I like this. I really don't care if it's Celine Dion or if it's fucking Black Sabbath or if it's AC/DC or if it's Coldplay. I don't really care. A good beat is a good beat. A good melody is a good melody. Good lyrics are good lyrics. So at the end of the day, I don't really care. So on my satellite radio in my car, I'm bouncing around from, the 50s to the 60s to now to, chill to all sorts of shit. So yeah, great question. Pistol 1783 says, Suspiria remake, are you excited for it? And please watch the original as it's a classic as Halloween. Well, yes, I am looking forward to seeing the original of Suspiria. I actually have not seen the original Suspiria. I will be seeing it soon, and I will definitely give my thoughts on it on some future broadcast. Or again, I don't do formal movie reviews. If I really like it, if I'm blown away by it, I will absolutely maybe talk about it in a video. But I reserve judgment until I see it. Right. But I did watch the Suspiria remake trailer, and I like what I'm seeing. I am curious to see this movie, for sure. Just as I am curious to see Hereditary. I think that's what it's called, right? Hereditary? Yeah. I want to see it. And I hear it's an acquired taste, and I'm like, I like that shit. I like when somebody says to me, especially in regards to a horror movie, it's an acquired taste. I'm like, good. Because that tells me some fucking thought went into this movie, and that tells me that at the end of the day, you may not like it. It may not be your, taste. It may not be your kind of film, but I'm like, okay, I want to see this. Somebody's doing something different, something, they're trying to bring something new to the game or whatever the case is. And I like that. I give my hat goes off to It Follows for that. I think It Follows is a little bit overrated personally, but I can't I can't deny that there are definitely some really nice moments in that movie. 100%. And my hat goes off to trying to do something a bit different. I think Get Out is a little overrated, but at the end of the day, it's all right. There were some nice moments. I like it. So whenever anybody says, "Yeah, it wasn't my thing. It was kind of, it's a little quiet, or it's a little deep, or it's a little, it's kind of like I'm like, hey, I'm there. The last fucking thing I want to hear is, yeah, it's pretty much like all the other horror movies we've got. It's like, fuck, I don't want to, I think that's why I enjoyed Unfriended a little bit, because it was different. I don't think it's a great horror movie, okay? But I think that's why at the end of the day, I walked away from Unfriended going, interesting. Okay, cool. That was all right. You don't need a fucking sequel to it. You do not need a sequel to it. And you don't need a sequel to great horror movies, classic horror movies. Remember what I said to you at the beginning of this stream, or near the beginning. Most horror movies suck shit. And then there are some that are not bad, and even fewer that are great. It's a hard genre to nail. Okay, scrolling down. Many Pro says, what's your favorite comedy film? Yeah, comedy. I would have to say my favorite comedy movie of all time is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy and Steve Martin. It is fucking classic. I love that fucking movie. I could watch it over and over and over again. I have watched it over and over and over again. And yeah, I will probably say as of right now, that is my favorite comedy movie of all time. Great question. Loved it. Ooh, I can feel my voice getting a little hoarse here, folks. Good thing it's the weekend. Because it was during the week, all the voice work I do might, I'd be drinking tea tonight in preparation for tomorrow. Okay, scrolling here. We got another 5 minutes, guys. 5 more minutes. Let's see here. Let me see here. Rich Loveday says, Dave, have you seen Black Water? Black Water. Is that, I've seen Dark Water. Is that the one you're talking about? Let me just bring this up here. Black Water. Oh, no, I was not thinking of that movie at all. Are you talking about the one with Dolph Lundgren and Van Damme? No, I have not seen it. I'll go with that's what you're saying. I have not seen that movie. Dave Savard, Del Griffith rules. Yes, he does. The shower curtain ring division, not just a shower curtain ring salesman. He's in the shower curtain ring division. There's a division. It means this company is so big. The shower curtain ring department is so big. They have the division, the shower curtain ring division. I love it. And he pulls it out. He's got all these shower curtain rings. Oh, John Candy, good Canadian guy. King Killa, did you watch the Stanley Cup Finals? Yeah, I did. I'm so glad the Capitals won. I wanted Ovechkin to get his cup. I'm so glad they won. The fucking Cinderella story that was Vegas. Holy shit. I'm so glad they won. Rich Loveday. Just scrolling here. Ken, he's a good devil. Yes, he's a good. That's right. That's an awesome scene. Love that scene. All right, a couple more minutes here. Jordan Stevenson says, do you like rugby? Yeah, I don't mind rugby. I like watching it. I don't know a lot of the rules. But yeah, it's a physical sport, so I like to watch anything physical, right? Yeah, for sure. Okay, just scrolling back here, seeing if there's any ones that I've missed. Scrolling, a few more minutes. Zach Jones says, Dave, who is your favorite Star Wars character? Han Solo, hands down. Han Solo is my favorite Star Wars character. Just scrolling back. Excuse me. Jessica Dominic says, what's your opinion of Phantom of the Paradise? I don't know what you're referring to. Phantom of the Paradise? I'm not sure. It's one of my faves. Phantom of the Paradise. Let me copy that. Put that in here. I'm just curious what that is. Oh, okay. 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 I'm going to have to watch that. I have not seen it. Now I know what you're referring to, but I haven't seen it. Okay. Scrolling. All right. I'll take one more question here, guys. One more question I will take. Again, if I haven't answered your questions, it's nothing personal. With, at our peak, we had about 256 people watching. We still have about 222. So there was a lot of scrolling going on. And you guys know me. I like to be thorough with my questions with my answers because I care about you guys. You guys are taking the time to sit and watch. And I think that's the least I can do. And it's fun, right? So nothing personal. Keep that question in your head. And on a future live AMA, hopefully I'll get to it. So let's pick one last one here. And see. Here we go. This is a good one. Rich Loveday, Arnie or Sly?
Yeah, come on. Yeah, I'm gonna get you one.
Arnie or Sly? Arnie or Sly? You know what, Rich? I'm going to say it depends on my mood. And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but it really does depend on my mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood for Over the Top. Sometimes I'm in the mood for Cobra. Sometimes I'm in the mood for, Terminator. Or, sometimes I'm in the mood for Twins. I gotta say, so it really does depend on my mood. Maybe, I'll watch some Total Recall, but then right after that, I'll watch some Tango and Cash. You know what I mean? It all depends, man. It all depends. But it's so unfortunate because of their egos and because of how much it would have cost that they could not have done a movie back in their prime. They tried to do it with Escape Plan, and, all things considered, Escape Plan was all right. It was all right, But certainly, if they had done this in the late 80s or early 90s, we would have seen like action, fucking them running and, totally, it was a little safe of a movie, right? We have these two gigantic stars who are well into their 60s, late 60s, I think at the time. Now they're both in their 70s. And of course, there's some physicality there. There's a bit. But if an Arnie and Sly film had come out in the late 80s or early 90s, we would have seen them with their shirts off and, Vaseline all over their rippling biceps and hanging from trees and things exploding. And it would have been amazing. It was okay for what it was. We got it. But yeah, depends on my mood. Anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. I was going to say comment below and let me know, but of course I don't think you guys can do that yet. This stream is going to go right up onto my channel right afterwards. I really appreciate everybody who tuned in. I think you guys are awesome. If you want to follow me on Facebook and you're not already, you can. The link is in the description. Facebook.com/manythingsDaveMcRae. That's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time. When I'm not posting here, that's where I post. So the link is in the description there as well. And if you want to help support the channel each and every month via Patreon, the Patreon link is in the description. I also do a Halloween-only live AMA called Thorazine, exclusive to level number 3 patrons. If you want to get in on that, the Patreon link is in the description. You will also get a 30-second audio-only Hollywood movie trailer with my movie trailer voice announcing you as the star. That's exclusive to level 3 patrons as well. For those of you that don't know, I'm a professional voiceover actor, and I do professional voiceovers at that level. So if you want to get in on that, that's part of your level 3 subscription. So comment below and let me know how you guys feel about what we talked about. I'm losing my mind here. I got to get out of here. Whoo! Okay. One last reminder. Tomorrow night, Drum Dum's channel, June the 16th, 2018, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Cody Leach, Mike and Jay from Drum Dums, and Lee will be talking everything Halloween tomorrow night, the Halloween stream. Tune in for that. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. So I'm going to now log off here. And, we'll do this. Okay, here we go. Cheers.